I would like to now take the opportunity to invite Dr. Sathish Kumar Sir, Pediatric Rheumatologist from CMC Vellore, to discuss with us about the advantages and disadvantages of biosimilars in pediatric rheumatological diseases.
Yeah. Good morning. Thank you, Dabashish and the NCPR-2024 team for inviting us to share our experience on biosimilars in pediatric rheumatic diseases. Okay. So I want to dedicate this lecture to my boss, Dr. Dabashish Danda, who in 2002, when he came back from his sabbatical leave to CMC, and he needed a pediatrician who can do rheumatology. So he selected me and encouraged me and groomed me to do pediatric rheumatology, and we started the pediatric rheumatic services in CMC in 2002. Okay, so next 15 minutes, I'm going to talk about what is biologics, what is biosimilars, which are the patients, which are the children who need these drugs, and availability and affordability of biosimilars in India. And last 5 minutes, I will share our experience of using biosimilars in CMC Vellore. So this we all know that we discussed about juvenile idiopathic arthritis, the criteria based on the history, clinical examination and the pattern, how they present. It is divided into 7 different subtypes, all grouped under the umbrella of juvenile idiopathic arthritis. So when you talk about the pathogenesis of juvenile idiopathic arthritis, when you look into this picture, so when you have this normal joint on this side you have all the inflamed joints with all these immune cells there. So 3 important cytokines which are implicated in the pathogenesis of JA are your IL-1, IL-6 and TNF-alpha. So when we are able to do this targeted therapy, you can achieve more children getting into remission. So when you talk about biologic, what are this group of drugs? So we know about methotrexate, we know about sulfasalazine, these are the small molecules. So what is a biologic? Biologic is a substance which is made from the living organisms or its products. The living organism may be a bacteria, may be a yeast, or may be a mammalian cell. So they go through a complicated or very challenging process. So the gene for the desired protein is combined with the DNA sequence. Then what is this recombinant DNA sequence is inserted into the host cell. From there the host cell is grown in the culture to produce that desired protein, multiply that protein again. So what happens is when you have this new master cell which work as a cell bank which will produce this more protein. So each biologic starts with a cell bank that will produce a protein into the perspective. So biologicals are made by the living cells. It's a complex manufacturing process. That's why it takes a lot of money, lot of time to develop these molecules, and once it is quality assured, then they come into the patients for usage. So what is biosimilars? So biologic has got a very big process. So biosimilars are the copies of the existing biologic molecules which are similar but not identical. They are not like the generic drugs. We know that amoxicillin, co-amoxicillin, then they have a lot of generic drugs comes. It's not like the generic drug. It is similar, but it's not the same one. So what's the difference in that is the biological product highly similar to the reference product with minor differences in the clinically inactive component. There are slight difference, so it's not the same. And when it comes to the treatment part, efficacy part, no clinically meaningful differences in the safety, purity and the potency of the product. So when you look into the original biologic, that's how the biosimilars, you can have a slight change in the molecule. So when you look how this developmental pathway, when you come into the biosimilars, which is down in the orange one, you can see there is a lot of things goes in the initial production part. Then in the pharmacokinetics part, then the efficacy part, they don't need a big study like your biologics. The original innovator molecules, they don't need a big study. They should have a comparative study to show that it is equal. That's what they say. And don't think biosimilars are duplicate molecules or it is not the original one, it's not like that. So here in India, we have a strict regulatory pathway for approval of biosimilars in India. So they have to go through the product development, then animal toxicity studies, then they do a clinical trial which has to be approved by the DCGI, then the marketing and the marketing license has to be got, then post-marketing, post-approval also they have to do the study, post-marketing surveillance. So they do the rigid process for biosimilar approval in India. So when you talk about biologics and biosimilars, it's like your iPhone which is made by the Apple and is a China iPhone. They look same, but there are some differences there. So what are the main differences? There are a lot of similarities which I told you, strength, dose, almost same, but the difference is, you can look into that, minor structural variations, either in the glycosylation formats or amino acid sequence. That's why it's called biosimilars, and they should have the same efficacy and the potency. The important difference is the cost, which I will come into that. So when you look into the pharmacological armamentarium for JA management, these are the FDA approved drugs, which is in the green color. We talk about etanercept, anakinra, adalimumab, abatacept, tocilizumab, canakinumab, secukinumab. These are the ones which is already approved for use in children with various age groups and the different types of juvenile idiopathic arthritis. So this is all approved for JA. So this we already talked. So we can block the TNF inhibitors. We have various drugs like adalimumab, infliximab, etanercept, golimumab. Cetuximab is not available in India. Other biologics, we have anakinra, we have tocilizumab, and we also have, initially we had abatacept, which is not available in India now, and we have rituximab. These are the usual biologics used in the treatment of JA. And you look into the availability. So this is the blue color is the innovator molecules which we have, Enbrel, and we have the biosimilar, Intacept, Etacept, and Eternal from Reliance, different companies. Then we have the Infliximab, we have the Remicade, and we have the biosimilar Infimab. And adalimumab is the one drug, India never seen the innovator molecule. The Humira, which is produced by the Abibi committee, never came to India. All the adalimumab available in the India is the biosimilar. Various players are there, but remember that most of the companies, only 3 or 4 companies produce the adalimumab molecule, but lot of companies market the adalimumab molecule. Then we have golimumab, which is originally is a Symphony. Now Reliance has come with the biosimilar, and rituximab again. There is Ristova, which is from the Roche, which is the original, and we have lots of biosimilars available in India. So Indian market is flooded with biosimilars. How about the cost, which is very, very important when it's going to talk about children with juvenile idiopathic arthritis, the cost. If you look into the cost of biosimilar and the innovator molecule, the cost is almost 50%. When you look into that, 50 to 60% the cost, whatever the biosimilar we use. That I remember we don't have the original, so we have only the biosimilars. So the cost is almost very, very less compared to the innovator molecules. Still we have problem, even if you want to use a biosimilar in India, we have, because a lot of people have to pay from the pocket and there is no medical insurance, so we have some difficulty, big challenge in using even the biosimilars. So do you really need these drugs? So every time when I talk, they all talk about we are managing these children with methotrexate, we are managing these children with leflunomide, we are managing with sulfasalazine. Do you really need these drugs? So answer is going to be yes, not for all the patients. So what does the evidence say? So we should not see anybody in 2024 with all the deformities of juvenile idiopathic arthritis. We should avoid this. We are not in the olden age to only try that and leave these children. So do we need a biologic? So what literature says is, nowadays we are thinking about tight disease control and early complete remission in children with juvenile idiopathic arthritis, clinically inactive disease where there is no objective findings of systemic or joint inflammation. So can we achieve this? Yes, we can achieve almost 95% of the children we can achieve by using this biological drugs. And we also know that from the olden data, the pre-biological era, 30% of the children may not respond to methotrexate or were conventional DMRs. In those 30%, 15 to 30% of children, we have to use these biologics or biosimilars to get these children to get clinically inactive disease. Not for all the children, so about 20 to 30%. So if we use these biologics, we can able to, more than 90% of children will have normal or mildly restricted functional ability. Even though these biologics and biosimilars are not 100% is going to control the disease, but you will be able to get there by using these drugs. Okay. So when you looked into the literature, and last time the Indian Academy of Pediatrics in 2022, so all the guidelines says you have to go start biologics and biosimilars very early, even the ACR, ULR, and they say that if you use systemic JA, the first drug ACR recommends you start on IL-1 or IL-6, which cannot be possible in our country. So what can be the standard treatment guidelines for Indian children? Do you have to follow the Western data? So we try to look into this, what is a feasible thing which we should do in children with juvenile idiopathic arthritis. So the treatment is based on the type of presentation, phenotype, oligoarticular presentation. If it is a mild disease, you go to methotrexate, 3 months, no improvement, you give subcu methotrexate. If there is no improvement, you add TNF alpha blocker. If you have severe disease, cervical spine, hips, wrist, small joints involved, you start with subcutaneous methotrexate and you go for 3 months, you wait. If the 3 months methotrexate doesn't work, it is not going to work, you have to go to TNF alpha blocker. So for polyarticular disease, the same way, mild disease, you treat with intrathecal methotrexate subcutaneous. If there is no improvement, if there is a financial constraints, you can add leflunomide with methotrexate. If there is a severe disease, we should think of starting TNF alpha blockers after 3 months of methotrexate is not working. And for systemic J, again, ACR recommends to start on IL-1, IL-6. We cannot do for all the children because of the cost. We don't have a biosimilar for IL-1 or IL-6 in India. We don't have biosimilars of those things. So what we do is we always start on methotrexate with steroids, and if there is no improvement, you go and start the IL-6 blocker. If there is articular presentation is more, you give TNF alpha blockers. Children who cannot afford IL-1 or IL-6, you can use thalidomide or lenalidomide, which will block IL-1 and IL-6. When you look into the sacroiliitis or enthesitis presentation, if it is more a peripheral joint, you try and give methotrexate and see. If it does not respond, go on TNF alpha blockers. But if there is enthesitis does not respond to methotrexate or our conventional DMRs, you have to start thinking of starting TNF inhibitors very early. Okay. So what is our experience? This is in the last almost 15 years. We have a lot of big cohort of children with JA in our hospital. So all the children are in the preformed. We collect the data and enter the data into the system. So we have used biosimilars, etanercept biosimilars in 55 children. Most of things are going to be polyarticular JA, and you can see the dose. This was the dose we use, and the mean dose was 12. And the protocol, we have to modify. It's written that every week we have to give Enbrel. That's what the etanercept has to be given weekly injection. What we try to do is we give weekly for 3 months and reassess them. If they are very well, I will try to space out and stop, because the huge money, the financial burden is huge. So we cannot keep on giving the biologicals for a long time. And we see very good response in children who are failed conventional DMRs. So you can see here 20 children remission on conventional. So with the conventional DMRs, we are able to maintain the remission as per the Wallace criteria. We can able to stop the medications also in 2 children, and they do same thing with the enthesite ERAs also, and not major serious side effects. We have seen 1 child with pneumonia and 1 child with TB reactivation. This is a 12 years old child, systemic JA, initially received tocilizumab, arthritis persisted, so we shifted to TNF alpha blockers. After 8 doses, this child developed pulmonary tuberculosis. We have to stop the thing. Then we can stop the conventional DMR, systemic DMRs, we gave ATT, and the disease flared again. Then we restarted again methotrexate. Infima biosimilars we used in 15 children. This is all old. Earlier, nowadays we don't use Infima biosimilars for long, because now we have adalimumab, which can be given subcutaneously. We used in few children, for about 15 children, enthesitis, lateral arthritis, and dosage we use is 5 milligrams. We try to give 0 to 6 and 14. We try to give 4 to 6 doses and see how they are doing. Once they are better, we try to taper it and try to stop. So again, it works very well. We don't see any major allergic reactions with Infimab, very minor allergic reactions during the infusion related. And adalimumab biosimilar is the one which we are using a lots and lots, because the price of adalimumab is the biosimilar is the one which has come down very much drastically. That's because of the multiple companies. I'll tell you, in the market, more than 30 companies are selling adalimumab. Only 5 companies produce adalimumab. Most of the companies buy it from the other company and give. And this is what we used for children, polyarticular JA, ERA, and we use them in resistant Takayasu arthritis and in systemic JA with arthritis predominant. So poly JA, they really do work very well, and with the ERA with peripheral arthritis, again it works very well. We used in uveitis, it works very well. In Takayasu arthritis, as part of bridge therapy, mycophenolate, steroids, it does not respond. We give adalimumab also. Systemic JA, again, as I said, if they are more of articular predominant, we use adalimumab. And adverse effects wise, so not major. Few children developed injection site adverse reactions, one diarrhea and one tuberculous lymphadenitis. This child again with adalimumab, child developed cervical lymph node and biopsy showed cervical lymph TB. We stopped adalimumab. And switching of the biosimilars, as I said, can you switch from one to another? Systemic JA children we are done because tocilizumab, lot of systemic features. Some children develop only arthritis which is not resolved symptomatic. We have shifted that. 2 children with Takayama arthritis receiving tocilizumab, still the disease is active, we have to go and give adalimumab. And ERA children, we have received infliximab, then we shifted to adalimumab also. Malignancy, so far we have not seen any malignancy in our cohort of children who received biosimilars. So what's our protocol? We try to use conventional DMRs in various combinations if the patient is not affordable. Methotrexate plus leflunomide, methotrexate plus sulfasalazine, we try to use that. And we will start biologics or biosimilars earlier if they are affordable and they are not responding to methotrexate for 3 to 4 months. We will give it for 3 to 6 months and try to taper and stop. If there is a flare, we continue, go back on biosimilars. So take home message, early diagnosis is very crucial. Treatment is based on the clinical phenotype. So when to use adalimumab, when to use tocilizumab, when to use anakinra. And biologics are very safer in children. Apart from the 2 TB, we didn't have any major issues. And affordability is still a big challenge even when you use biosimilars. Only with the rates coming down, we can use biosimilars for more children compared to the innovators. And always remember, these drugs in the long term, we have only etanercept data for long term, which is safe, but we don't have a long term efficacy of these drugs. So keep that in the mind and try to come down as soon as possible and use it whenever is necessary. I'm going to, this one child with systemic JA is on tocilizumab. It was doing very well. You can see we can reduce the steroid toxicity very well. Okay. And this was another child who is given rituximab. This child has received again tocilizumab. I'm going to stop it here. Thank you very much once again for Dr. Dabashis for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your nice talk. You have also finished before time. Yes, as you have already pointed out, biosimilars have been flooded in India. There is no problem. And it's a boon, not only to children, also to the adults, because now mostly, of course, everybody is now using biosimilars because of this cost. But one thing, not only in India, biosimilars have been also approved by US FDA and also European Medical Agency. So not only in India, throughout the world, biosimilars are now being used. Not like India, of course, so rampant, but there are some biosimilars also available in USA and also in the European countries. You have shown the last slide, that is, you have used tocilizumab in that child, but tocilizumab biosimilar is not.
Tocilizumab we don't have biosimilar, sir.
Not available in India.
We don't have biosimilar.
So how much you are using usually? What is the dose? Because tocilizumab.
So the tocilizumab dose is 8 to 10 milligram per kilogram. It says to start with 2 weeks, every 2 weeks. At most of Indian children, I don't start with 2 weeks at all. We start with 1 month and see how it responds. Most of the children do very well with 1 month. Again, the cost has to be kept in the mind.
Yeah. But no, another thing, tocilizumab in RA, it is being used in small doses at the 162 milligram subcutaneous. I don't know. Dr. Sujata, do you use tocilizumab for the JIA? And what is the dose? Because in RA in adults, tocilizumab is approved 162 milligram subcutaneous. So how do you use in children?
Yeah. So now tocilizumab is available as subcutaneous infusions and as intravenous infusions and subcutaneous. Intravenous infusion comes as 80 milligram, 200, 400. Now we have 162. Most of our children after the COVID came, we shifted to subcutaneous tocilizumab. But the only thing is it comes as 162. If the children are very small, I go for IV infusion. Otherwise, most of our children, we go for the subcutaneous.
Yeah.
Child. Yeah.
Any question or comment from the audience?
Satish, thank you for the talk. Tocilizumab, I have a child with two unusual side effects. Very bad systemic GI, nicely covered on tocilizumab, and then goes into neutropenia one day, which is probably described. The other thing is I stop the tocilizumab, get this kid out of trouble with steroids. After 6 months, starts developing psoriasiform lesions, which is also described that tocilizumab can unearth psoriasis in a certain proportion of kids. What do you do about? Have you faced a similar situation with?
Yes. So we have one child like that. We use infliximab for that child, suspecting enthesitis related arthritis. After 6 doses, the child came with a full-blown psoriasis. Only one child.
But
That's with the innovator only.
with infliximab,
Which one?
you treated the kid with
We treated with Remicade,
and the child developed
and the child
psoriasis.
developed full-blown psoriasis.
But tocilizumab hasn't.
Tocilizumab, I have
haven't
not seen that. TNF alpha blocker is a well-known side effect.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So we'll end up this session.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you, sir, for the talk. So, this like tapering and the gradual tapering is an Indian-made jugaad actually. So, what is your experience, because you have used a lot of in lot of children. So, how children behave and is it possible to this way of tapering is we all do in our clinics, but we don't know that whether we are doing right or wrong. But are there any literature or something which, because you have used in lot of patients, so that will make a more difference if we can make out of that.
Yeah. See, what happens is with the immunogenicity, especially with when you use this adalimumab, and all the monoclonal antibodies develop anti-drug antibodies. So when you use it for a long time, these anti-drug antibodies will reduce the efficacy of these drugs. That we know very well. Okay, is there any science between for reducing and stop? Instead of giving 2 weeks, you make it 3 weeks, 4 weeks. There is no evidence for that. But most of our children do very well, so we keep them. Even in DADA, to which the patients which you are giving etanercept. Some children, I will tell you, they are receiving once in 3 months 1 dose of etanercept. They are on remission. Because we cannot keep on giving every year. So I have children on once in 3 months 1 dose of Enbrel. They all are happy DADA 2 patients. That's a real life.
Sir, infliximab, when you start, what dose you start it?
What's that?
Infliximab.
So infliximab, sir, nowadays, I don't know, our unit we use only for children with Kawasaki disease, for juvenile idiopathic arthritis, because that's an infusion and it is the high risk of TB for infliximab, because it has got a murine substance also. So in our unit, we don't use infliximab anymore for juvenile idiopathic arthritis. We use it only for Kawasaki disease who are resistant to IVIG or primary intensification.
It is somewhere, it is stated that has to be given at 5 to 6 milligram per kg.
Yeah.
But if you start at 3 milligram kg, some unrounded effects, but not at 5 to 6, there is some puzzle.
So 3 to 5 milligrams a dose recommended for juvenile idiopathic arthritis. Kawasaki disease, we go up to 10 milligram per kilogram.
But
Of
3 milligrams some side effects, but at 6 milligram no side effects. What is the cause for that?
antibodies. The
I think-
antibodies. Because it's got this murine model also.
I think you can clarify it during the launch, because
Sure.
already we are late.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all the faculties for the nice presentation. Thank you.